The 11%. What's the big deal? Well, in recent years, there have been a lot of research studies and even some debate about what percentage of the population goes to church, what percentage doesn't go to church, and a lot of that even depends on how you define what going to church is. But let's just say, for the sake of what we're talking about here, that 60% of any given community don't go to church and 40% do go to church. Well, as believers and following the Great Commission, we are interested in reaching the people who don't go to church. And granted, not everybody who doesn't go to church doesn't have a relationship with Jesus Christ. I believe that there are some that do. But I think for the vast majority of people who are not plugged into a local church fellowship, they don't have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And so when we talk about reaching them, it is going to take all kinds of church. It's going to take all kinds of expressions of the church. And we've heard a lot in recent years about the missional or the incarnational approach and becoming more embedded in the community. And I think that's great. But I do think there is a percentage of people who don't go to church that can be reached by the church as it exists today, the institutional church as it exists today. A few years ago, Tom Rainer wrote a book called The Unchurched Next Door. And he identified 5 different categories of this group of people who don't go to church. And they ranged anywhere from what he called U5s, which are the smallest percentage of people, but the people that are most antagonistic toward the gospel and toward Christians and the church, probably atheist in their worldview. And it ranged from that extreme to the other extreme of what he called U1s, which are highly receptive to the gospel and probably would come and visit your church if they were just invited. So let me tell you just a little bit about this U1 category. First of all, 9 out of 10 of them have a regular prayer life, and 7 out of 10 pray daily, this U1 group. Many of them have some kind of church background. 94% of them believe in hell. Virtually all of them believe that there's a heaven. They're, for the most part, a little confused on the gospel. They do think that you have to believe in Jesus Christ, but you also have to do good works, and you have to be a good person to be able to make it into heaven. They are interested in learning about the Bible. And here's the deal. 97% of these people would go to church if they were invited. Now, this is what makes the 11%. This is the group that we're talking about reaching and serving and connecting with. And we want to help you define the 11% in your community, in your mission field. And so we want to talk about how to connect with them in 2 ways. First of all, relationally. And this by far is the most effective way of serving and connecting with the 11% through personal relationships. Study after study of people who were formerly unchurched say it was a relationship for the most part that brought me back to church. But there are also ways of communicating to this group, and we'd like to help you learn more about how to do this, and not only where the 11% might be in your particular community, but how to communicate with them. So this is just one piece of what we call the 4 C's: code, context, calling, and create. And this is that context piece, that piece of the mission field that God has placed you in. And we want to help you reach those people who are highly receptive to the gospel. Not that we want to exclude anyone, but there is some low-hanging fruit, so to speak, that we want to help you serve and connect with.